Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new, please check out the important links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links. The first few links link to 3 different videos where I talk about what started my targeting in 2020. One is a 12-hour video compilation, 7-part video compilation, y'all, of me not only telling you what started my targeting in 2020, but I also give you the backdrop story. Because I've been through a lot, y'all, since my early 20s, and I'm now age 32 and a targeted individual. So that 12-hour video, I just basically give y'all vivid details about everything that I've been through for the last decade, and the things that preceded my targeting. The second video option I have is a commentating over a clip video. And that video was created, let me look real quick, y'all. That video was created 4 months ago. And basically what I did was I went into the full story video and I fast forwarded to the part of the video where I talked about what started my targeting in 2020. So I negated the backdrop. I fast forwarded past the backdrop, right? And I fast forwarded to the part where I just talked about what started my targeting. And so that's, sorry I got distracted, y'all. I saw somebody driving by. And y'all know I got ADD. It doesn't take much. For those of you that follow me and have been following, it doesn't take much for me to lose focus. But, yeah, y'all. That second video, I'm sorry, y'all, that you see on the screen, the commentating over a clip video, that's basically just where I fast forwarded in the full story. So I went literally into the full story video I was just referencing, and I fast forwarded to the part where I talked about what started my targeting, and just some of the details that directly preceded my targeting that led up to me sending the text message that you're going to hear about if you haven't heard my story yet, that created the targeting. And then the third video option, y'all, is a summary video that I created at the same time that I created my full story video. And in that video, I just summarize what started the targeting, and I negate the backdrop story. To be honest with y'all, if you're not going to listen to the full story, I would recommend that you listen to the commentating over a clip video rather than the summary video. And I've been saying that in all of my recent videos, y'all. And the reason I say that is because it's basically like the same thing, right? It's just you basically more so just hearing what started the targeting without the backdrop story, or you're hearing like little minor details, but not like the full, backdrop story that I gave in my full video. But the commentating over a clip video is a little bit more in depth, because not only do I record, like I said, specifically the part of my full story where I talk about what started my targeting, but then I also expound on certain things. I commentate over the clip. So that's why I would recommend the commentating over a clip rather than the summary. But you can check out either one, y'all. Whichever one you feel like watching, whatever tickles your fancy. Anyways, y'all, not a long video. I actually don't even feel like making a video. Like, this is the 4th take. I started this video 3 different times and I had to delete it because I'm tired, y'all. I'm exhausted. I'm at work. For those of y'all that have been subscribed, I'm doing security at the moment. And I didn't get any sleep before coming in. I tried to. It was just one of those nights where I couldn't get to sleep. And I went ham in the gym today. I've been going ham. I told y'all in the last video, I've been lifting heavier and stuff. So just tired, man. I'm tired. I just don't feel like making a video, especially talking about, some of the same redundant stuff that I feel like I have to constantly address. It's so irritating. And so that's kind of where I just felt like, like I couldn't even get my words out. Like typically when I make these videos, even if I don't feel like it, I can pull it together and get the words out. It's just like blah, blah, blah. Like I just didn't even really feel like making the video, but I'm so irritated that I want to make the video to address what I want to address. And also too, y'all, I'm going to still try to be careful, because I don't want to jeopardize things for myself. I told y'all the correction officer position is still pending. I did the agility test and I passed. And so I'm just now waiting to hear back from the lady in HR that I've been working with, and I just don't want to do anything to jeopardize that job. But at the same time, again, y'all know I'm targeted and I'm constantly dealing with stuff. And so this is where these videos come into play. Just me again advocating for myself, defending myself. You know, the usual targeted individual shenanigans. That's what's going on with this video. I'm just irritated. And I just wanted to address something. So this is what this video is about. So basically, y'all, I'm gonna call this basically part, and I'm sorry for the basically, y'all. As I said, I'm tired and I don't feel like making this video. And so that's where all the basically is coming in, and you might hear me stammering over my words. I might not get it out, but eventually, you know, I always pull it together and I say what I need to say. But I'm going to title this part 2, Targeted Individual Programming and PTSD. This is going to be my part 2 video, y'all. Y'all, there's somebody driving by me with their trunk wide open. I don't know what's going on. Now, mind you, the shopping center is closed. They're pulling up to the bank behind me with a trunk that's gaping open. These are the things that happen when you're targeted. I don't know what's going on, you know, so I don't want to jump to conclusions. But you know, some strange things do happen when you're targeted. And I can't pause the video, y'all. Remember, if you've checked out my last video, y'all have heard me say that I have a new phone now. No longer on the Android, I have an iPhone, which I'm happy about. But at the same time, the recording app that I have on this phone is different to the one that I had on my Android. The one on my Android, I could pause the video. So all now, while this is happening, I could pause and then come back and let y'all know what happened. Right now, in real time, I'm sitting here actively keeping my eye open to see what's about to happen here with this vehicle that pulled up behind me with the trunk open while I'm here making this video. Okay, I see him walking to the bank. Y'all, you know, I gotta keep my eyes open. Not only am I doing security, but then again, I'm targeted. Which, you know, in a way, it low-key, you know, it's 90% a nightmare. But 10% of it comes in clutch because it's like cameras are on you and everybody's watching. So, you know, nobody, let me not test them. You know, let me not say that and then now just to prove a point, somebody try something with me, right? But likely, nobody would try anything because there are so many cameras and everybody's watching. It's more so just tactics being done to harass and antagonize me covertly. Look, the ambulance driving by. This is why I'm doing the video, y'all. Like, literally, like, it's been a night full of craziness. I don't understand what's going on. The ambulance is driving by now, silently with no lights on. But this looks like gang stalking. It's the way he pulled up, right, to the ATM. There's a drive-through ATM. So why you would pull up to the one behind me and have to come out the car and walk up instead of going through the drive-through doesn't make sense. The trunk is gaping open. He parked, like, haphazardly. If you even see how he parked, I wish I could show you all. You know, I'm not going to bear false witness. If you listen to my story, if you're new and you're still listening, you know, bearing false witness, I've said this in my recent videos, has played a contentious role in my targeting. And it's some sort of vigilante retribution punishment that's basically going on with my targeting. Because they deem me as somebody that bears false witness. But if you listen to my story, you'll hear that technically I've only bared false witness once in my early 20s. And that created a cyber-stalking, cyberbullying situation for me, which is partially what I'm going to talk about in this video tonight. But other than that, the other situations, I didn't bear false witness. Now let's see what's going on here, y'all. He's digging in his trunk. He now closed the trunk. Now he's getting in his car. Y'all, it's funny. I had this conversation with my sisters earlier. Not my sisters, my sister and my mom. And I told y'all I don't mention relationships in these videos. And those of y'all that have been listening to my videos, you'll notice I always say someone in my close circle, someone in my close circle. I never specify relationships, friendships, etc. because I don't want problems with these videos. But I can specify now because I'm not saying anything specific to those people that I'm referencing, my sister and my mom. I'm not saying anything bad, right? I'm just telling you about a conversation we had relative to what I'm about to say here now. But we were talking about the correction officer position that's pending for me. My sister was saying she's worried because, you know, I'm going to be in there and the jail, I guess, you know, the inmates will be roaming free at certain times and anything could happen. I'm telling her anything could happen now. Like, I'm out in the open, in the element, right? I'm doing security. Constantly, everybody knows where I'm at. They have cameras on me 24/7 and then they're broadcasting it to everyone. So literally anything could happen at any given time, and I don't even feel fear anymore. I just walk with the Most High and I sit down and I cool. Like, if I had been doing security here now and I hadn't been targeted and I hadn't been desensitized to fear, like typically me of old, if somebody had pulled up on me like that with their trunk open, I would have been sitting up. I am alert. I am paying attention, and I was actively watching while I was commentating and telling y'all what was going on. My car would have done been started up, right? I might have done drove around. Like, I wouldn't have sat here so calm. But because of my circumstances, like certain, like these things don't round me up anymore. You start getting desensitized in a way too to some of the tactics that are being done. Anyway, I forgot what I was gonna say though. I don't want this to be a long-winded video, y'all. I already feel like I've been rambling and over my words here. Usually my videos are more clear. But I really want to say, talk about what I want to talk about. So for those of you that are new though, don't stick around and listen to this video without listening to my prior videos, because you're going to be lost. In my full story, I talk in detail about that cyberstalking, cyberbullying situation. And then I dedicated 2 individual videos to that situation. And it caused a bunch of backlash for me. I don't talk about the thing anymore. I absolutely don't. I avoid it like the plague. They will not let the thing go. They keep hinting to me about the fact that I was obsessively talking about the situation and I shouldn't have said certain things because the person is married and this and that, or I don't know if he's married or not, but in a relationship, obviously. And I'm here, I guess, talking about that situation and possibly causing tension within. I don't see how what I said would cause tension within the whatever. I don't want to go into details about it, y'all. I try not to talk about the situation. I've been avoiding it for months like the plague, and they still keep throwing stupid shit at me. And then I get gaslit when I make videos about it. I have been avoiding the thing like the plague, y'all, because of the backlash that I got for talking about it. But constantly they're throwing false narratives at me about the situation. They keep trying to relate everything in my life to that situation purposefully. Every little thing, they try to relate it to that situation. It's crazy. And then would gaslight and say that I'm obsessively talking about it when they're obsessively focusing on the situation and making everything about that situation. It's like so weird and creepy. Now, mind you, the situation started in my early 20s, and for years I was cyberstalked and cyberbullied, right? I never talked about it. I keep saying this. I never made videos. I was never reaching out and lambasting anybody. The only people that knew about that situation was the people in my close circle, my sisters and my mother. That was it. And my brothers, obviously. That was when I was close with them and we used to tell each other everything. They knew about the situation. Nobody else. I wasn't on Facebook posting. I had a bunch of freaking friends on Facebook. I could have been making videos and posting shit on Facebook if I wanted to be a homewrecker or a troublemaker when shit was happening. I wasn't doing that. I was staying quiet and minding my business and trying to live my life, right? Whilst I was being freaking harassed and harangued and cyberstalked and cyberbullied and had dudes being sent after me. They hacked my dating website. I don't know how many times I have to repeat the same thing. And they keep pretending like they don't understand what happened because of subjectivity. They're annoyed with me. They don't like me as a person. They think I'm a bitch. They think I deserved it because I shouldn't have bared false witness. I said offensive things in the height of my targeting. So even if what I'm saying is correct, I am automatically wrong because of subjectivity and bias. And so they're purposely painting this false narrative as retribution for me, I guess, lambasting text messages and trying to create this false narrative that's not true. I've said several times in several videos that I never dated this man. I was never in a relationship with him, never kissed him, never hugged him. We were never romantic. We were talking as friends. Him and I were friends, right? It was a platonic friendship. That's what it was. Him and I talked for a couple years while I was in the States. And what was going on is I was losing my mind because of what happened with my ex. Now, mind you, I've dated so many men since that situation and since my ex. So many men since then. Right? So why they're honing in on the situation and trying to make it what they're trying to make it when the thing happened eons ago is beyond me. They're trying to make it like I talked about the situation to be a homewrecker when I talked about it because the situation started manifesting itself in my targeting. I've said this very clearly. I know I'm articulate, right? I may be socially inept in person. I may not be a good socializer when it comes to in-person interactions. But when it comes to speaking, I speak well. And I know they understand what I'm saying. They're not slow. Now I'm starting to sound condescending because I'm irritated with the situation. But I know they understand what I'm saying, and they're purposely misconstruing and painting false narratives because they think I'm a bitch and they're subjective. And they're moving off of bias and dislike. That's what they're moving off of. It's irritating. Anyway, so with that situation, I was actually going through turmoil with my ex. That's the only man, because I've dated many men since then, and I don't really get emotionally invested in relationships like that. I do. That sounds bad. I do get emotionally invested, but not to the point that, like, what happened to me with my ex, the ex that took my, I don't say that stuff, the one I talked about, the main ex. I keep saying the main ex. I've dated a lot of men since him, but the reason I keep calling him the main ex is because of what I went through with him. And listen to my story, y'all. You got to listen to my full story to hear the details about that. That is the only man that I've ever dated that made me get physically sick. I was losing weight, right? All kinds of crazy stuff was going on. I was having anxiety attacks. My hands were cramping in. My sister had to keep taking me to the hospital every week, like literally losing my freaking shit over that man. That was the only man that ever had me in a tizzy like that. So I don't understand why they're trying to paint this crazy shit with a dude that I was only friends with. And I spoke to him. I'm not going to say that I was, because that's going to sound bad. I wasn't using him. There was a genuine friendship there. But I'm saying him and I spoke virtually, man. And it was really like an escape from my real situation that I was dealing with my ex, where he was leading me on, actively leading me on and using me out. That's what was happening. Sorry to sound blunt and, vulgar or whatever, but that's what was happening. And so for me, he was this virtual escape. He was somebody I could talk to, somebody that was a listening ear, what felt like an unbiased ear, because I thought he didn't know who I was. I mean, to this day, I'll take his word for it and say that he didn't know who I was, because that's what created the cyberbullying situation. Y'all got to listen to my story. I'm not about to tell the story again. But basically, after talking to him for a little bit, like a few months or whatever, I discovered that he somehow figured out who my roommate was. And my roommate and I, if you were listening to my full story, had a lot of tension back then. It's to the point where we were actually in the process of moving out from living with each other. And so for him to come months later, after I already kind of revealed all of her business to him, not maliciously, I never told him who she was, but I was literally just venting to him because it felt like an unbiased ear that I could trust. And I was telling him all of the stuff that was going on with she and I in our living situation or whatever else, right? So when he revealed to me that, all of a sudden he somehow figured out who she was, I'm not going to go into the details about it right now, y'all. I've talked about the stupid shit so much and I don't want to talk about it again. When he revealed to me that he knew who she was, my mind just automatically felt like set up. Like I thought he was setting me up. I thought she had sent him after me, and they share the same nationality and blah, 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 blah. Whatever else stupid, ignorant thoughts I had back then in my immature mind that made me accuse him. And so I started moving accusatory towards him. And that's what created the whole cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation. That's what created that. So anyways, y'all, after that was just years and years of basically me being cyber stalked and cyber bullied here on island, right? It was like this thing where I couldn't genuinely date a guy from the island I'm from. It's not like it was following me worldwide and I couldn't date a dude in this state and that state. I wasn't a target, but it was target-like, right? It did emulate the target program where honeypots are sent after you, that type of thing, where they're sending dudes after you. That kind of way, like what they do to targets? That was kind of what was happening to me right here on island, though. It was contained to the island until I left for Florida and went back to school for the second time, and they somehow hacked my dating website. And the thing about it is, it's not like you just had like a bunch of dudes that, I guess going hard for their friend because I said mean stuff to him or whatever it is. They felt like I was an accusatory bitch, whatever it is, and decided to be vigilante. I don't know, whatever it is. It wasn't that. It wasn't just that. It was like he was involved too. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not just this thing where I'm just aggressively coming for him because the situation created whatever for me. He was a part of it. Like the cyber stalking and cyberbullying, he was a part of it. I talked about when my dating app was hacked. He actually on Facebook liked a picture, an old picture, like 2 to 3 years old. One of them was from freaking longer than that. One of them was from when I was in Tallahassee in my early 20s. Pictures that I sent to this dude on POF. I texted it to him. So I went on my Facebook. He told me to send him more pictures, more than what I had on the app. And I went on my Facebook and I screenshot 3 old pictures to send to him. Do you know that dude went on Facebook and liked 2 of those old pictures randomly? You can't say algorithm because that's what one of the people in my close circle was trying to tell me it was. She's like, well, maybe it's an algorithm because you took a picture. I took a screenshot of the pictures and I texted it to him. She's like, oh, well, maybe it's an algorithm. Maybe because you screenshot the photo, it was floating around the newsfeed. I'm like, that's not how Facebook works. It would have been an algorithm if I went to screenshot the photo And then I saw a comment that I never replied to, and I said, oh shoot, so-and-so commented under this picture? And then I reply. Then you can say algorithm. Then you can say, okay, well, that thing probably floated in the newsfeed and he saw it, coincidence, right? Nothing like that happened. I didn't like the photo. I didn't comment on it. I just took a screenshot of it. And he somehow liked those two photos, old photos, I reiterate, they were not new photos, that I texted to the Kadan dude that I talked about in my videos. This was in 2018. Now at this point, that was years ago, right? At this point now, that was 6 years ago. But when I initially talked about this at the end of 2022, that was only 4 years ago. And then 2 years ago, in 2022, when I initially talked about the situation, 2 years prior to me making the videos, I had gotten a message from him on Facebook and I blocked him. And so I showed that. And they got mad because I showed that, and they were trying to make it like I was being a home wrecker. When I clearly made it clear, I don't think he was running me down. I don't think he was trying to be with me. He wasn't begging to be with me. Him and I never messed around. Nothing sexual ever happened. So I don't understand why that would be something that would mess with his marriage or be home wrecking. He was trying to, it's this passive aggressive thing. I can't really explain it. He's not a bad person. I keep saying that. I don't think he's a bad person. I just think he had never had a female talk to him the way that I did. I was really bitchy to him, and I'm really good with my words. I'm like a keyboard gangster. You know what they call a keyboard gangster, or a nerd or whatever? Because I'm a writer. And so I'm not in person that girl. Like, I'm not the kind of girl in person that's going to cuss you out, or, I mean, yeah, I will snap back if you snap at me, but I'm not that girl that's going to sit there and cuss you out in person. But if you're telling me shit, right? Or you come for me, I might come for you harder. And I'm talking about virtually. Because what happened is, when I met up with him in person, I got a bad vibe. I wasn't getting a good vibe from him. And actually, before I came home, because of my accusations, he had started kind of moving funny shortly before I came home to actually meet him in person. And I didn't come home to meet him. I came home because of what was going on in my life at the time. I wasn't in school. I only had one more class before I got my associates, and I failed it multiple times. It was a math class, and I have ADD, y'all. I've talked about this in several videos. So at the moment, I could not get back into school, even though I was only one class away from graduating. Couldn't get back in until I paid that class out of pocket, paid for that class out of pocket. And I had a good GPA too, y'all. It's crazy. Not good. It wasn't like the GPA I had when I went back to school the second time, but I was passing. I had a 2.7 GPA. But because of me failing that one class multiple times, they were doing something called completion rate, and I lost my financial aid. So I wasn't in school at the moment. I didn't have the money at the time to pay to get back into school, to take the one more class that I needed to graduate. You know, I was having financial issues at the time. You know, I was living with my sister, my older sister at the time, and her fiance and my niece. Financial issues were going on. You know, I was really depressed and skinny, and like getting really skinny and MAGA. And that's what we call in the islands, MAGA, like skinny, when you really lose a lot of weight because of what was going on with my ex leading me on. And if I keep it real, that situation was my fault too. I've been real about that. I talked about that in my full story. But that's what was going on at the time, and that was what led to me moving home. And so, of course, I met up with him. You know, him and I had been talking at that point for a few years, and we had developed a friendship. And so, of course, I'm going to meet up with that person. That's normal. So I went to meet up with him, and I wasn't getting a good vibe. I think the thing had turned into a big joke because of the way that I was accusing him. And I think maybe he really was innocent. You know, maybe it was a coincidence that he knew who my roommate was. You know, I've already said in retrospect, as an older woman, I can see how irrational I was being back then, but I wasn't in my right state of mind. You know, I was losing it. I was going to the hospital every week, and my hands were cramping in because of what was going on with my ex. Again, he was a virtual escape for me, not to just, you know, make it like I was just using him. We really had a real friendship. You know, it's not like I was just using him and virtual escape. That sounds terrible. But I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, that's what that was. A virtual escape for me from my real life situation with my ex, who I was sexually active with, who I did have a real relationship with. And that's the only man that ever had me going in a tizzy like that. So for them to try and paint it like this crazy thing that they're trying to paint it is not what they're making it seem, man. It's crazy. So anyway, when I met him in person, it was just a horrible vibe. I was just getting a bad vibe. You know, no disrespect to him. You know, I don't want any problems. Every time I talk about this situation, it's something, but they keep pushing stuff at me, false narratives, and they know full well what they're pushing at me isn't true. It's just subjectivity, man, because they don't like me. So anyways, when I met him in person, I just didn't get a good vibe, man. And I tried to meet him a second time, you know, to see if it would be different. It still just wasn't a good vibe, you know. I just wasn't, I'm very intuitive, and I wasn't getting a good vibe. I think at that point it did turn into a setup. I do. And so the second time I had sent him a message and just basically told him I was getting a bad vibe from him, and I didn't say it in a disrespectful way. I wasn't nasty to him or anything like that. I just told him the vibe was off or whatever I said. I can't remember verbatim. It was years ago, almost a decade ago at this point. Whatever I said. And that's when he sent me a meme of basically somebody looking like a used out drug addict, like a has-been drug addict. And at the time I was drinking. Remember I told you I was a blackout drunk for 2 years. At that point I wasn't a blackout drunk, but my drinking had started. My drinking started in Tallahassee when what was happening with my ex was happening. I became a blackout drunk when I moved back home. So anyways, he sent me that as a sub at me. And mind you, I wasn't drunk when I went to meet him. The 2 times I went to meet him, I wasn't drunk, but he knew I drank because I used to be talking to him when I was in Florida. And I used to tell him when I was drinking wine. I was like a wino. I used to drink a lot of wine when I was going through what I was going through with my ex. But I wasn't a blackout drunk yet. The hardcore liquor, the vodka and that type of stuff that make you blackout, that can make your liver fall out, that kind of way, that didn't start until I moved back home. So when I was in Florida, I was doing wine. I was like a wino. And I used to tell him. I was so comfortable with him. I was telling him all of my business. I was telling him I was sipping wine and this and that. I was telling him everything. I'm a very open book when I trust somebody and I'm comfortable with them. Look at the ambulance driving by and gaslighting now. Anyway, y'all, that's really why I'm making the video about and talking about this situation in the first place. I'm going to explain to y'all what led to me talking about this stupid shit again, right? Because they know what they did. This is gaslighting. But I'm trying to be careful again. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers and I don't want to get punished for my reaction as usual to what's being done. Anyways, so forgot what I was going to say. That threw me off because I'm seeing the ambulance drive by. Hold on a second, y'all. Let me spit real quick. I'm sorry. So anyways, after, like I said, I told him, I was getting, the vibe was off or whatever I said. I don't remember verbatim what I said. He sent me the meme of me looking like, a used out drug addict or whatever the case is. And so at that point I was offended. I wasn't in the right state of mind. I reiterate, my self-esteem was low. I was very skinny, y'all. Not my regular body weight. I had just come back from being used out by my ex. And I come here and meet you in person. I'm getting a bad vibe. I tell you the vibe is off. I didn't tell you anything disrespectful. And then you come at me with a meme, insulting me. I just kind of went in and I was immature too. I went in. I'm very hard. I can be very mean with my words because I'm, like I said, again, a writer and I can cut like really low and below the belt when you come for me first. That's the thing. I'm never going to come for you first. But the thing about it is, and I have a bad habit of doing this, not all the time, but only in moments where I feel really offended, I might bite back harder than you bit me. So even though that meme was really offensive and he came for me first, I bit back harder. I guess you could say maybe I came for him first by saying the vibe was off. Maybe that was, maybe I was wrong for that, but I was just being real. I'm intuitive and the vibe was off. I really think that the thing, I don't want to now again be accusatory, but I really do think the thing had turned into a setup. Maybe initially it wasn't. I can acknowledge that. But I do think it did turn into a setup. I was getting a vibe. I'm telling you, the 2 times I met up with him, it was a vibe. I was feeling a vibe. I'm very intuitive, y'all. I can't explain it. I can feel when someone has a bad intention for me. I've always been that way. So anyways, he sent me the meme or whatever. And I went in on his looks, because he came for my looks first and not just my looks, just my lifestyle in general. Because at the time I was drinking. I wasn't a drunk yet, but I was well on my way. I was a wino at the time. When I moved home, and all the cyber stalking and cyberbullying started happening, in addition to the other things that I had just come from in Florida, where I was already skinny and freaking, ass out because of what happened with my ex. That was what led to me becoming a blackout drunk for those 2 years that I was a blackout drunk. But anyways, I responded to the meme he sent and I responded with words and I went in on him. I'm not going to go into details of everything I said, because there's songs they're playing on the radio to sub me too about some of the things I said and not taking into account the fact that he insulted me first. It's just that, again, I bite harder than you bit. That's all. But you bit me first. But I started talking about the fact that he had a stutter, because they have a song on the radio they like to put on stutter, and it's this girl too that I went to school with in elementary, so it's just crazy they keep throwing that on the radio. And if you listen to the song too, it's just it's full of stimuli, that song. And I really wasn't going to give it attention. I really tried not to talk about it, but they keep throwing it on purpose, right? But that song, and then the stutter in the song, She's obviously saying, I don't want to say she's saying it for me. I don't want to bear false witness. Maybe it's shadow networking. Remember, they can change songs and technology and stuff. But it would seem like the song was made for me. It just fits too perfectly the narrative, and they keep throwing it on the radio. And then oddly enough, the other day, they even played against me on the pool game with her name. That was strange. That was really strange. So I'm not really too sure what's going on with that, but I'm not going to bear false witness. But that's one thing they do. They like to throw that song at me, the stutter. But another song they keep throwing at me too is a song I don't remember verbatim. Again, it's another one of those things where I don't remember verbatim what's being said. But this song talking about basically the gist of it is, if we break up, we can still be cool. You don't need to come at me or try to tear me down is basically the song. So again, insinuating the false narrative that him and I had some sort of relationship or relation. And because things didn't work out, I'm trying to tear him down. Why now? Why would I wait till I'm targeted to do that? Why didn't I do it when it was fresh? When he sent me the message, why didn't I land blast it then when the thing was fresh, if that were the case? It's nonsense and they know it. It's nothing like that. What's going on is the situation started to manifest itself in my targeting. I talked about what happened in that old neighborhood. Y'all got to check out my other videos, those of you that are new, or else you're going to be lost. In that old neighborhood, most of his family, I don't want to say most of his family, I don't want to say ignorance, but a lot of his family lived in that neighborhood that my parents were renting a house in before we moved to the new house that we're in now. And a lot of the gang stalking that was happening to me prior to me trying to relocate off island, prior to my targeting going viral, prior to me ever making a video, a lot of the gang stalking happening in that neighborhood was from his family. It was not just regular people. His family was involved. I never saw him directly, and I never said that. I won't sit here and lie. I'm not a liar. I saw his dad many times in a big old truck. I've heard Rev campaign from his dad. I saw a lot of people associated with him in that neighborhood doing noise campaigns. His dad used to be outside the window, my bathroom window, with goats. There was a field right outside my bathroom window, and his dad used to be herding goats in the bush. And so at that point, I had realized I was being watched on camera. So you can imagine the level of humiliation when I'm realizing I'm being watched on camera. And the guy that I was basically cyberstalked and cyberbullied by his family, excuse the poor grammar, but the guy that was involved in my cyberstalking and cyberbullying, his family being allowed to be a part of my gang stalking where I'm being watched on camera and humiliated and degraded, you can imagine the amount of anger that I felt. That's what led to the videos. And still, I didn't make the videos. I tried to leave Island. I never made videos about it. What led to me making videos was when I had to come back to Island because the thing followed me and blew up. I didn't even want to leave my home. I shouldn't have had to leave my home. I'm from here. Why did I have to leave? Why am I being harassed like this for sending a text? But anyways, I didn't make no big fuss about it. I was just going to leave and start over because I had a good resume. I had a good credit score. I'm not saying I have a good resume, but you know how it is when you get targeted to a certain level, right? You get impeded to a certain extent, right? I have a good resume. I had a good credit score. Credit score is shit now because of the targeting. When I tried to relocate, I lost a car. All this crazy shit happened to me, man. The targeting went viral. A lot of crazy shit. I left with good intentions. I was going to start over. I wasn't holding a grudge. The thing followed me, tacked itself onto me. And so basically, I ended up coming back to Island, back into the house that we were living in that neighborhood with his family, and the gang stalking continued. And not only that, I then learned I was a target. I started doing research because of what I experienced in the States, and I learned I was a target. And I said, oh, hell no, I got to tell my story. So I didn't create the videos for him specifically. I created the videos to talk about what started my targeting, and that cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation is a part of my story. So I have a right to talk about it. And so that's why I talked about it. And they made such a big deal about it and started to gaslight me about talking about it. That was what led to me obsessively talking about it to prove my point. Because I'm like, oh my God, wait, they're gaslighting me about this? Are you kidding me? So I started really obsessively talking about it. And then they started insinuating weird shit too. And that was what led to the receipt video. And oh my God, who told me to do the receipt video? That was when they really started to go in on me. And so now I just tried to freaking disassociate from the whole thing. I don't talk about it anymore. They keep sending me like freaking, like subliminal messaging about talking about it. And, that's what's causing this and that. I stopped talking about that thing for months, but they still keep pushing false narratives. They don't stop. Relentlessly, they are still pushing false narratives. I talked about what happened recently with the taxi situation. It was linked to that thing. When I didn't do anything, I was listening innocently to a song, say my name while I was waiting for the taxi. Right, I was getting on the taxi being polite. not being disrespectful to anyone, going to the gym, minding my business. Check out my part 1 episode in the gym and dating while targeted. Or was it the part 2 video? It was either the part 1 or the part 2 video. I'm listening to the song Say My Name, right? I don't even remember the lyrics. You know Beyonce's song Say My Name, Destiny's Child. They're reffing by, I guess in the song, I think the gist of it was basically that the guy started acting different with her and he wasn't answering her call anymore. And she's saying, do you have someone new at the crib, basically? And, basically like his vibe changed towards her because he found someone else. And so they're reffing by, they're going crazy, right? It's not even like it was just revving. Then an ambulance drove by. And then, it was the part 2 video. And then this guy in a Hummer pulled up that I had this interaction with prior to, and I had realized he was a gang stalker. So y'all got to check out the part 2 video to hear the details. But after that, then that's when the weird taxi thing started happening where they weren't stopping the taxi for me. So constantly they're still pushing that situation at me, even when I'm not talking about it. So it's just this weird thing where I'm like constantly feeling like, okay, well, I'm not going to sit quiet and let you keep pushing false narratives that aren't true. I'm going to defend myself. So anyways, whoa, I didn't mean to click on that, y'all. I'm trying to hurry up because I don't want this video to be too long. So it's just that situation with, it's just this constant thing with that situation where they're like pushing this false narrative like I'm this jaded ex that tried to home wreck and create this situation when that's not the case, and they know full well that's not the case. So anyway, in the old neighborhood too, y'all, it was so bad, right, that I was showering in the bathroom, realized that they were seeing me on camera butt naked. I came from working out, because I was working out in that neighborhood, and I put a turmeric mask on my face and I'm washing the mask off. They took the current, y'all, and that was something they were doing a lot in that neighborhood. That was like a real gang stalking tactic they were using on me in that neighborhood. They kept taking the current. They're not doing that to me anymore. It's happened like twice in this new house, but they don't really do that as much anymore. Thank the Most High. But they were doing that like crazy in that neighborhood. And every time it would happen, you would hear the goats going ham outside, and a bunch of noise outside. I'm like, what the hell? Right? So one night they did that, and I'm washing the mask off my face, and so it's pitch black, and the water's cutting off, and I'm hearing again the goats going ham outside and a bunch of noise outside. And so I had to feel my way around like a blind person, y'all, to the kitchen to find water to wash my face. This was before I had ever made any videos, y'all. This was before I even tried to relocate off island, by the way. And I went in the bathroom and I had to wash the mask off with drinking water, right? So I was fuming because I knew it was a gang stalking tactic. It had been happening for months. They had been doing it for months, excessively. So I went to sit on the porch to get some air because I was fuming, and I hear talking downstairs, and I look down in the bush. It sounded like theater and like fake convo. I hear my dad in the bush with his dad laughing about the current being taken. So I remember getting so pissed. I was like, man, I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. Something like that I said. I was like, I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. Something like that I said because I was so pissed. Because, I had dealt with the cyber stalking situation for years, and now I'm being humiliated on camera, and his family is a part of it. And his dad is in the bush laughing with my dad. And this was before I left island. This was before I ever made videos about the situation. So then I come back to island now, and I realized I'm a target, and I start telling my story, and I talk about that. And they made it this big thing. They purposely created this false narrative from me, even though I was very real about the fact that him and I were never together. They purposely made it this thing that it wasn't, spitefully. And it keeps still trying to do that. It's weird. I've never had an issue with obsessively talking about the situation. I was trying to detach from that situation. I wanted normalcy on island. I wanted to be able to date like a normal person. I regretted ever meeting him. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. No disrespect to him, but I regretted ever meeting that man. Because my life as I knew it on this island changed before I was ever a target. I'm talking about when I was being cyber stalked and cyberbullied. Even dudes I knew from the past that I was cool with were moving different with me. Like I got this rap. Like I became notorious in a way because of that situation. So that's why I really regretted ever meeting that man. I really did. I'm just being real with you. It was nothing emotional. It was no, oh, I can't get over him. It was nothing like that. Not to sound like a cold bitch. It wasn't anything like that. It was what was created from me meeting him. So anyways, so now let me just talk about what started me talking about it here tonight, y'all, because again, there's, more bullshit with them, right? On this thing here, I'm in the vehicle tonight, y'all. I'm vehicle patrol. So I was on here just trying to put more songs on my playlist because it's this weird thing now, y'all, where because of my targeting and because of them sensitizing me to so many different things, false narratives, etc., and the programming, PTSD, the same stuff I talked about in my last video where they're pushing stuff and stimuli down my throat 24/7. Like, certain songs just make me feel weird. Like, I feel uncomfortable. I know they're all staring at me. I just feel weird. It's not like what it used to be. I love music. Like, I'm a music connoisseur. I like to listen to music. I write poetry, so I like music. And I have playlists and playlists and playlists on YouTube of different music and stuff. And now everything just feels like, I don't know, weird to me. Every song I put on, I feel like it feels awkward. It reminds me of something they stuffed down my throat, one of the stimuli that they've sensitized me to. I feel my brain starting to tick, and if it ticks, they start revving. And certain songs, there's so many songs that I would have ordinarily put on my playlist that I haven't put on my playlist. There are even songs I put on the playlist and I took off. So I was like, oh my God, I'm like, this sucks. So I was just like, let me go through, YouTube, through some of my playlists, my older playlists, and see if there's any songs that I can find to add to my playlist, because I hooked it up to the Bluetooth and I'm listening to it while I do vehicle patrol here tonight, right? So I was sitting there trying to, as a matter of fact, speaking of vehicle patrol, no, it's not time yet. I have another patrol coming up. Anyways, guys, I forgot what I was saying. So I hook it up to the Bluetooth, right? And I listen to it on the radio, my music, so that they can't, send me songs with stimuli on the radio to sensitize me. Like what I referenced earlier, like the song about, stutter or whatever else they put on. They sometimes put on some really, rowdy stuff sometimes. So I just like to listen to my own music. And I did that anyways before my targeting. I used to do that. I always used to like to hook up my music and listen because I have like a specific set of music I like. I'm eclectic. I like different types of music. But still, it's more so like, you could say, leaning towards the 90s vibe. I'm a 90s baby. So I like 90s music, 90s R&B. I like neo soul. I like, that type of stuff, different stuff. Some of the underground music or artists you really hear on the radio. I like UK artists, stuff like that. So I was like, let me go and find some songs that I can add to my playlist because I'm tired of hearing the same songs over and over again. And these are the songs I've kind of vetted and decided that they don't make me feel too awkward, so I can keep these on my playlist. I was like, let me go see if I can find some other songs to add to the playlist. So I'm looking through. I went on a 90s R&B playlist that I found on YouTube. I'm going through every song felt like stimuli. I'm skipping like, oh my God, everything feels like stimuli. Then I came across the song Breakdown by Mariah Carey. Now, mind you, it wasn't even the message that made me save the song. It was actually the song. Let me show y'all something. Now, I was listening to a bunch of different, y'all can see a bunch of 90s songs, trying to decide what I was going to put on my playlist. I even put Lauryn Hill doo-wop on there, right? I was putting a bunch of different stuff on my playlist. Then I saw, which song was it? I know what song it is that created me making this video. That's not what I'm looking for. There was another song I wanted to show you the comments underneath it so you could understand where I was coming from when I downloaded the Mariah Carey song. Was it this one? Talking about the memories and the reason
what
why
if I told you that you can get paid to...
Yeah. I don't want copyright, y'all, so I'm not going to play the song. Yeah, it was this one. This was one of the videos I was listening to, and I decided to read the comments because I was like, dang, this is I wanted to see if the people in the comments were on the same wavelength as me. Because I was like, man, this is giving me memories, especially if you're someone like me that's targeted. Like, you can remember when your life was normal. Even prior to my targeting, I used to just like to listen to these type of songs to throw me back to my childhood. That nostalgic feeling, right? Where you have that security of your parents taking care of you and, those memories from high school and stuff, right? So I was reading the comments and I saw, I miss being young, treasure it, kids. And Bow Wow had music in it. Okay, that's not important. You don't search for old songs. You search for old memories. That's nostalgia for you, baby. And it's mighty. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, it's more than just a song. Like, I like this type of music, not only because I grew up listening to it, but because it now also too reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of the years where I was the most happiest in my life. That's why I like listening to these songs too. And so I saw the Mariah Carey song, right? It was this one. Mariah Carey, Break You Down. They even saw me because they're watching me like a hawk. Look right, because I even thought the thought in my head, I was like, dang, 14 years ago. I said, man, I had just graduated from high school. Because I graduated from high school in 2010, y'all. So I was like, dang, I had just graduated from high school. I said, this gotta be an old video though. I was like, this is older than 14 years ago. Because I was like, Mariah Carey's like older now. Like, there's no way, look, they have a motorcycle driving by now with her gaslighting. Anyway, I was like, there's no way that she was 40 in this video, because I did the math. They saw me do this, right? I even went on and looked her up and saw that she's 55, and I subtracted the 14, and came to the conclusion that if this really were from 14 years ago, she would have been 41 in the video, which is possible because you do still have some youth to you. At 41, it's not like you're old. But at 40, you're starting to get up there. They even call it like over the hill sometimes. You're getting up there, right? And so I never want to say anything disrespectful. I always end up putting my foot in my mouth. I'm 32, y'all. I'm not that far away from 40. So it's not like I'm, ageism or anything like that. I'm like right there. Like, 8 years fly by very quick. Trust me, I still remember being 20. Like, I can't even believe I'm 32 right now. But I just felt like, man, she had to be younger in this video. I was like, because she looks younger. But she could be 40. If you eat healthy and take care of yourself, you could look how she looked in this video. But I was like, this gotta be, I was just thinking that stuff in my head, man. Just thinking about the video and the fact that this is like nostalgia for me. And I was like, dang, I remember this. Because my mom was a big Mariah Carey fan. And I don't want to say was, like, she's not still. But we're older now, and, she listens to different music now when times are changing. But growing up, my mom, the reason I like the kind of music I like is because of my mom. Like, most of the music we listened to was from my mom. My dad listened more sort to like reggae, the old school reggae and stuff. So those type of songs give me nostalgia too. But in our car, oftentimes what I grew up listening to was like Mariah Carey, Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu, Maxwell, those type of people. And that's why I like that type of music. Mariah Carey specifically, and Lauryn Hill, two main people. My mom used to have all of their CDs. She had, the Emancipation of Mimi. Yes, I know the name of the CD. She had all of those CDs. And so this song, Break You Down, gave me memories, yeah, like chills and all too, because it reminded me so much of back in the day. And this was one of the songs my mom used to play all the time. And this wasn't even relative to her. My mom's been married to my dad for years. My mom's been married to my dad for as long as my older sister has been alive. So about 34 years she'd been married to my dad. But she used to listen to these heartbreak songs just because they sound good. And she used to really listen to Mariah Carey. And so when I heard this song, I was like, oh my gosh, nostalgia. They even heard me think that, y'all. I was like, nostalgia. I was like, whoa, Mariah Carey. I said, this had to be older than 14 years. I was like, I graduated from high school 14 years ago. Right? I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way that this is from 14 years ago. This has had to be from like the 90s, but they posted it 14 years ago. I even started doing the little math and the calculations and stuff and getting excited. And so then I went to download the song. All of a sudden I see the ambulance driving by and flashing the light. Again, I know what they're trying to do, trying to create it like this song pertains to that dude. I know that's what they're doing. First of all, if I were downloading it for the message, it would have been for the ex that broke my heart. The one that led me on, that had me sick, that had me skinny, that had me hopping in the hospital every week, that I actually had a real relationship with. If I were downloading this song for the message, it would have been for him, not for that dude, where we just had a friendship that went awry, that actually created a very traumatic experience for me. There was no loving kind of relationship like that where he broke my heart and I break it down and I couldn't get over it. There was no situation like that. And they keep trying to paint this false ass narrative because they don't like me. And they don't like the fact that I expose messages or receipts that they kind of antagonized me into providing, because they kept insinuating certain things. So I was like, no, man, I got to provide receipts to show them that what they're saying is not correct. And so I provided the receipts, and that created such a horrible situation for me. So I understood. I apologized. I stopped talking about the thing. I freaking avoid it like the plague. They don't stop. They're relentless. Keep sending me songs with false narratives about the thing. Keep making everything about the situation. It's so irritating. If I did download this song for the message, which is not why I downloaded it. I downloaded it for nostalgia. And because this is one of the many songs that my mom used to have on repeat when I was younger. But if I did download it for the message, it wouldn't have been for him. It would have been for the ex that I wrote a poem for, right? You want to see the poem I wrote for my ex? I never wrote a poem for that guy. It was never that deep. We had a real friendship. We did at one point in time. My accusatory ways turned it into this weird thing. And then it created a horrible situation for me. But what him and I shared was never that deep. So they need to stop. I even wrote a poem for my ex called Love Thyself because of how he had me going in circles, and I lost so much weight. I was in the hospital for weeks. Every week my sister had to take me to the hospital because I was having anxiety attacks. No man ever did that to me. And after that, I've dated so many men since then, and none of them have ever done that to me. I've even been intimate with other men, and I've never been through what I went through with this guy. Never. So if I did download that song for the message, it would have been for him, if anyone. But that's not why I downloaded it. I downloaded it because it gave me nostalgia. That's why I downloaded it. So it's just irritating. They keep trying to create these false narratives purposefully, spitefully, and then gaslighting me about talking about it. Like, I'm trying to let the situation go. Stop throwing subs at me with the radio. Stop insinuating false narratives about the situation. Stop harping on the situation. Let it go. If you really want it to be let go and you want the man to have peace and you want, the situation to blow over, let it go. And stop insinuating fake shit that's not true. That's how I feel about it. It's irritating. So now I'm talking about it again. It's been a while since I talked about it, y'all. I'm talking about it again now and again, pleading for them to leave the situation alone and forget about it. I'm not talking about it anymore. So you stop talking about it and stop making everything about that situation. It's not. Anyway, that's it, y'all. That's all I want to talk about. That's all I want to talk about here, y'all. That's what made me create the video. Oh, there was something else I wanted to document too. It just seemed like they were on one tonight. Anyway, I don't know what I did to piss them off this time. I didn't do anything. Really. Today was a pretty even keel day. I really don't know what happened. It wasn't one of those days where I made a video. It wasn't one of those days where I had a negative reaction to anything. So I don't really know what happened. I got on work. I had, positive words with my supervisor. Things were normal, right? And I went to do my first round, because what you do is rounds when you do vehicle patrol. You have to take the phone. There's a phone that they give you and you have to hit scan points. And so I went to hit my, it was my second or third scan point. I noticed this big, vibrant, grasshopper flying and attacking me, and it hit me on my arm. So I screamed. I'm very squeamish when it comes to insects. I don't like them. And with these drones now, they're very real. I already told you that sometimes they're using real insects to create these drones. Check out the links in my description box. What they're doing is they're taking these insects in the pupa stage and they're inserting probes into them and microchipping them, basically like how they microchip targets, and remote controlling these things. So it's like real insects that they're using. And so I don't like cockroaches. I don't like grasshoppers. I don't like the flying insects. I'm very squeamish when it comes to those type of things. Squeamish, excuse me. So anyways, they hit me on the arm with it. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm trying to hit the checkpoint. They're aggressively attacking me with it. So I'm like, let me not bear false witness. Maybe it really is an authentic grasshopper out here tonight. I'm like, that's never happened before. But maybe this is an authentic grasshopper. But I remember just screaming like, what the heck? So I hit the checkpoint, right? I went to the next checkpoint, which is so far away from that checkpoint. Do you know there's another grasshopper attacking me? At the second checkpoint, flying after me, chasing me. I almost freaking fell and bust my head, y'all. I'm like, what is going on today? I'm like, this has, again, I'm not going to bear false witness. I can't concretely prove that it was an insect drone. It's not like I collected it and observed it up close. But I've already shown y'all that these insect drones exist, right? And I told you already that they usually fly the mosquito in my face to antagonize me. Or sometimes they'll use roach drones at my house. They haven't done that in a while, right? But they've never aggressively attacked me with a grasshopper. I'm like, what the hell is going on tonight? So for it to have happened at 2 different checkpoints when that's never happened before, it's likely an insect drone. But again, I don't want to bear false witness, so I'm using the term likely just for the sake of not bearing false witness. Because again, I told y'all, with my targeting, even if what I'm saying is correct, if I can't prove it and I say it, then it's this weird thing where they'll do it like more to me just because of bearing false witness. It's this weird thing, man, with my targeting. It's horrible. So I'm just like, what caused this? And this was before the song with the Mariah Carey and the ambulance driving by and them insinuating whatever. This was before that. This was when I first got on shift. So I'm like, what is going on tonight? I was like, I didn't do anything today. Like, again, an unprovoked attack. I'm like, what is this now? And then now I'm sitting here just trying to find songs innocently to put on my playlist. And similar to the Say My Name song that they tried to make about that situation too, The ambulance is driving by as soon as I went to download the song, and I already knew that's what they were doing, because all day long today too, you know, they're putting on the song about that song, or the next song where the message is basically, I don't know who sings the song, I don't even really care. The message is, oh, if we break up, you know, you can let me be happy and this and that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Break up? I wasn't with the man, and I don't have an issue with him being happy or not. If I wanted to blast the messages and really be a homewrecker, I could have done it when I actually got the message. And I don't think he was coming at me in that way. I've made that very clear. I don't think he was trying to get next to me. I think he really had an issue. Look, the ambulance driving by again. It's crazy. Gaslighting and subjectivity. I think if the man was really trying to get next to me, I don't remember what I was saying now. I don't think he was really trying to get next to me. I think it was antagonization and passive aggression, those messages. I've made that very clear. Because he knew I was being cyberstalked and cyberbullied when he was sending me that stuff. I don't think he was trying to get next to me and trying to get in my pants. He never had gotten in my pants before, so why would he try now? I don't think it was anything like that. And I'm not saying he wasn't happy in his relationship. I just think it was like this revenge thing that was happening, man, with the cyberstalking and the cyberbullying. Like, that's what I think was happening. I think he never had anybody talk to him the way that I spoke to him. Even though it was a response to what was sent to me, I think he never had anybody talk to him like that. And that's what created this horrible thing on Island for me. That's what I think. So I don't really understand what's going on. I just think they're annoyed with me in general for talking about it. I think they're just mad at the fact that I went as far as to provide receipts because they were gaslighting me about talking about it. And I think that's what created, you know, what's happening now, where they're like aggressively now purposely trying to paint this false narrative and kind of spin the narrative. It's really weird and creepy what's being done. Him and I was never together. We never had any sexual relationship. We never had any romantic relationship. It was strictly platonic. It was years ago. And the only reason I talked about it again was to tell my story, and because the situation manifested itself in my targeting and literally was a part of my gang stalking. That's why I talked about it. So that's it. I'm done with it. I'm not talking about it again. Again, for the millionth time, I would like to let it go if they will. And I would like them to stop pushing false narratives at me about the situation. Stop driving ambulances by and trying to insinuate certain stuff. Stop putting songs on the radio about it. You know, just stop, man. It's nonsense. Stop. I wish they would stop the whole thing, to be honest. Even the text message thing. That's another thing. They're painting false narratives and pushing it at me on purpose. And again, it's this vigilante retribution to let me feel accused, basically. I know what they're doing. I'm not dumb. They're pushing all these false narratives at me to make me feel accused. And I've already apologized for my accusatory ways. I've already apologized. I didn't bear false witness with the text message. I insinuated. And really, that was a trickle effect from what happened to me in the Airbnbs. It was like a series of unfortunate events. The bathroom OCD thing happened. Y'all listen to my last video. Listen to my story, really. The bathroom OCD thing happened in the first Airbnb, which created, I think, you know, this paranoia with my neighbors. That created the first, you know, monitoring like situation. Then in the second Airbnb, I feel like the guy set up, you know, like this maintenance man to be next door to kind of like spy on my boyfriend and I at the time, because of what was said, I think, from the last neighbors. This is what I think happened. Listen to my full story, y'all, so y'all can get the real details, because this is going to kind of sound confusing. I'm not really going into detail like that. I'm kind of just brushing on what I've already said. And then in the third Airbnb, that was completely unattached to those first two Airbnbs. The third one actually belonged to someone in my close circle. And I think it was just PTSD and trauma from what I dealt with in the first two Airbnbs. I carried that over with me to the third one. And so I thought the lady was kind of doing noise campaign on me, and maybe she wasn't. Maybe that was just me, a me thing. And so I created a situation, I can acknowledge that, in that third Airbnb that turned really bad. And so I was dealing with that situation for about 3 to 4 months. And I came home now and projected that on the people in my close circle. And that's what led to me becoming a target. All of that I've already acknowledged. I've acknowledged my wrong in it. I've acknowledged my wrong for bearing false witness. I didn't bear false witness in that situation, but I did insinuate. I've acknowledged my wrong. I've apologized. Why is this still happening? Why is it this extreme? You know, there's this other target. I'm trying to be careful, because she was in a lot of controversial stuff, and I'm not trying to get in any more problems. Things have gotten a little better for me, but I'm still targeted. It's not going to be better until I get my privacy back and my life back. So, it's not this kind of way like, well, okay, it's not as bad as before, so shut up and be good. But it's like, I'm still not happy. Like, I'm still being stared at. I'm still having noise campaigns happen. I don't have privacy. My thoughts are being projected. I'm still miserable. I want my life to go back to normal. And it's not right. I've apologized. I've acknowledged my wrong and things. I'm not accusing anybody of anything anymore. I'm not causing trouble. I've never been the kind of girl to get in problems. I graduated magna cum laude. Not that that matters, so a person with a degree can commit crimes. So that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say I'm a good girl. And I was on the straight and narrow. So this is crazy to me. And there's another girl I found earlier. I said I wasn't going to make a video about her because I didn't want problems. But she reminded me so much of myself. Her situation is completely different to mine. And what started her targeting is completely different to mine. But relative to me, she's never been in trouble before. Never committed crime before. You can hear the girl had her head on her shoulders, has her head on her shoulders. She was in some university in Texas, and apparently it seems like the professor was coming on to her. And so she reported him, and for reporting him, they recommended that she be put on the watch list. It doesn't take much. All it takes is a person of authority. It can even be like a dean at a school, at a reputable school. They can reach out to the FBI, right, and say this person's a troublemaker, and then you can get thrown on the watch list and be interrogated and investigated. You're not told that you're on the watch list. I took a screenshot of some of the info she was sharing. Like I said, some of the stuff she was saying was controversial. It sounded anti-police and anti-government, and typically that's what happens when you first get targeted, because a lot of the gang stalking that takes place involves law enforcement. So automatically you might start to feel this aversion, and not necessarily an aversion, but you start to feel like this. I'm trying to think about how I can say this without saying the wrong thing. When you're being harassed, right, and you're being followed and you're being chased and you see cops following you and you didn't commit a crime and you're not a bad person, and you see that happening, it manifested from a simple situation that was a misunderstanding or something that you feel like, something that's not a crime. You start to feel like this sort of, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but initially when you first get targeted, you might start to feel like some sort of aversion towards law enforcement because it seems like they're following you and you didn't do anything. That kind of way. Let me explain it. It's like when you're a child and your parent chastises you and you're not wrong. Like, let's say you got in a fight with the teacher and you were actually right, because this actually did happen in my household before, y'all, with my older sister. I remember she had a math teacher, and the math teacher and her got in a fight. And the math teacher was actually wrong. Like, she had got a bad grade, right? Not to tell her business in my video. She was young back then. She was really young. But the math teacher basically lambasted her bad grade to everyone in the class. You're not supposed to do that as a teacher. And I'm speaking as a prior teacher, right? As someone that was a teacher, right? A former teacher. I'm speaking as a former teacher. Anyway, so that happened, and my sister started getting teased. And so she started to be really rude to that teacher that day, and the teacher didn't really tell the full story. And so my mom kind of half listened to my sister's story, and they ended up arguing at home, and my sister knew she was right, so she was really not really good at articulating what happened. She was more so just screaming at my mom, and so my mom ended up popping her, like she got popped, And I come to find out, when my mom heard the whole story, she realized that my sister was right. And so it's similar to that, to what happens when you're targeted and you didn't commit a crime. It's this kind of way where you feel like the law enforcement is kind of like a parent, and they're chastising you when you didn't do anything wrong. And so you start to feel that kind of reaction, like scream back at you because I didn't do anything wrong. Like you're screaming at a parent who's chastising you when you didn't do anything wrong. So that's the initial reaction when you first get targeted. And I notice a lot of targets go through that phase where it seems like you have an aversion to law enforcement, when really it's just reactive abuse and you're reacting to being chastised or punished for something you didn't do. When you didn't commit a crime, you're like, why is this happening? Especially the level of invasive that the program is, where you're being watched 24/7. It gets to the point where sometimes they microchip, not sometimes, they microchip your brain and your thoughts are being projected. It's really invasive. You're being seen naked at times. It's really invasive. You're being followed everywhere, and you're somebody that's never committed a crime and you don't have any intention to. It's crazy. And what's more is not to do this and not to be that person that keeps, because I'm not looking down on anyone, but there are people out there that are actively really committing crime that really do need to be watched, and they're not being watched. They're living their best life. And you're seeing that shit on YouTube and stuff, and you're being followed and watched. It makes you start to grow a resentment within you. And that's what happens to a lot of targets, especially the ones like me and the one like that girl that I found today. So I was just like, oh my God, when I heard her story. I almost want to share a clip of her video, y'all. I didn't want problems. But in the phase of towards authority, that's where she's at. And so a lot of the stuff she's saying, I didn't want to play on my channel because I'm past that phase. And so I don't really want to play that. I don't want problems for myself, but I do want to just share her story so you could hear, like, it's crazy what happened to her. It's not the same as my story, but relative in the fact that we didn't do a crime. We didn't commit a crime, and we're being, like, I don't want to say harassed, but I mean, that's kind of what it is. You know, with the ref campaign and you being watched 24/7 and noise campaigns and stuff, but we're being surveilled 24/7. You know, and it's for her, it's worse because she's in the States. I already told y'all what happened to me when I tried to relocate. The targeting is much worse in the mainland, y'all. It's really bad.
I just can't.
She's really going through it. I keep trying to follow her and they're not letting me follow her. That's another thing too that's weird. But anyways, let me see if I could play that video for y'all to hear what's going on. I don't know if this was, this is not the video. Is this the video that I heard for her? Where she was talking about, or was it this one? There was one.
The document that I'm passing out speaks about the illegal clandestine operations happening behind the terrorist watch list today. So I came here regarding police harassment 6 months ago, events that unfortunately continue to occur to this day. And what I didn't know at the time was the reason why I was being arbitrarily investigated, along with the aggressive measures that they were taking to do so. This led me to finding the deep corruption happening behind the terrorist watch.
Yeah, I don't want to say, look at the videos that's talking about deep corruption. I just want the videos where she's talking, sharing the documents.
So shortly after everything occurred at Texas State University, I was endlessly surveilled by cops. And this went on for months, even after I tried to leave the town of San Marcos. And I realized that shortly after the events that occurred at this university, they reported me in as being a threat to the school and the community. And this is what prompted the police investigation of me and what led to the FBI holding an assessment for me for terrorism. And within the subset of the terrorist watch list, the FBI does not need any evidence of wrongdoing. They don't need any tie to terrorism or even a criminal past on the individual for their inclusion onto the subset of the terrorist database and for the FBI to open up a full investigation. They can employ the help of police, their informants, different forms of invasive surveillance, and all of the measures that they take within this subset of terrorist watch list is all unregulated by the government. And they only do regulation over the no-fly list and the selectee list. Within the KST file as a whole, the government does no regulation or oversight into their procedures along with their nominations. And officers that aid the FBI in running investigations or monitoring.
Okay, so that's enough, y'all, because I don't want problems. But basically what she's saying is, like, there's no due process and there's no regulation because this is somewhat of a secret program. So it's not really regulated by the law. And it does go against the Constitution in a way, too. The fact that you don't have due process. You know, you're not alerted to the fact that you're put on the watch list. It can go on for years, forever long they want it to go on for. You know, and it's just the level of invasion, too, that takes place. And so she's just given a lot of details about it, but I don't really want problems like that. I'm going to see if I can read, because I did take a screenshot, some of the things that she shared. I don't want to stay on here too long, y'all. I didn't want this video about her. But I was so tempted to, but I was like, I don't want problems. But I made this video here because of what happened tonight at work. I said, let me just a small clip of what she said, but trying to be careful too, because, you know, again, don't want problems. Law enforcement sensitive info. Do not advise the individual that they may be on a terrorist watch list. Contact the Terrorist Screening Center, right? TSC at whatever. During this encounter, if this would extend the scope or duration of the encounter, contact the TSC immediately thereafter. If you are a Border Patrol officer, immediately call the NTC. Attempt to obtain sufficient identifying information during the encounter without otherwise extending the scope or duration of the encounter. So basically, if they pull over a target, right, don't let the target know that they're a target, basically. Don't let them know that they're being surveilled or that they're on the terrorist watch list. So they're never going to let you know what's going on. You're just dealing with this program for however long. There's more too. She pulled. Under the new assessment authority, FBI agents can investigate anyone they choose, so long as they claim they are acting to prevent crime, protect national security, or collect foreign intelligence, with absolutely no requirement of a factual connection between their authorizing purpose and the conduct of the individuals they are investigating. That's very important, y'all. FBI agents can start assessments without any supervisory approval and without reporting to the FBI headquarters or the Department of Justice. The guidelines do not require the FBI to keep records regarding when assessments are opened or closed, and assessments have no limitation. You hear that? So if they wanted to, they could do this shit to you forever. If they wanted to. And I've heard some targets that's been dealing with it for years. I've heard one that dealt with it for 15 years before they stopped doing what they were doing to him. You know how it is to lose 15 years of your life and you didn't even commit a crime? When there are people out there who are committing active crimes who only serve like 3 years or no time at all? Innocence no longer protects. You see that? That's very important. Innocence no longer protects ordinary Americans from being subjected to a wide range of intrusive investigative techniques. The techniques include collecting info from online sources, including commercial databases. Remember, shadow networking. They have AI software where they hack everything. I've already told you how they hack your phone, computer, all the technological devices that you own. Recruiting and tasking informants to gather information about you, so gang stalkers. Using FBI agents to surreptitiously, gather information from you or your friends and neighbors without revealing their true identity or true purpose for asking questions. Again, gang stalking. Having FBI agents follow you day and night for as long as they want. So it's really bad. It's really another video I saw was a little bit more lightweight. I wanted to share this with you guys. Let me put this one on. This one had me rolling. This guy here, he did basically like a spoof, like a little joke video about, what it's like to become a target. And it's so accurate. The thing had me cracking up earlier. Let me see if I can find that video. I want to share that with y'all.
Baffles me.
Dang, I want to see if I can find... Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can find it. Dang, let me see. I think I saved it, That one's a little bit more lightweight. It's not as heavy, it was funny. Dang, I'm not even seeing it in my watch history. Why is it not?
Check this out.
Here it is. Found it.
Whoa. Why I get dark so fast?
Remember I told y'all they use HARP? Remember I told y'all they use HARP on targets, especially in the States, in the mainland. They were doing that to me like crazy. And I showed y'all on that other target, Truth Hurts Hypocrisy America's page, how they were using the HARP on him to stop him from going to get his new car. They kept making it rain and thunder and all kind of crazy stuff. They use HARP, y'all. And the thunder sounds generic too. It's this weird kind of loud bang thunder. I know that sounds ludicrous, but it's really psychological warfare when you throw it in this program, They use HARP all kind of thing, and make you feel like you're crazy. And so I was so glad when he put that into the video. I was like, oh my God.
I just turned off the lights. And it's only 5 p.m. Wait a minute, hold up. This must be that global warming stuff, man.
Wow.
See?
No, I think they started to shadow network with the pointing finger thing. Remember, I told you on a recent video what started with the pointing finger stupidness, right? So I think they started shadow networking there. But this is a real video, you know, and I was really thoroughly laughing too. And when I started laughing about the thunder thing, right?
See, I told you.
That was when he pointed his
global
finger.
warming, right?
Yeah, that's not
like
a thing.
what is that? How's
not a
global
thing.
warming gonna make it darker?
Exactly.
Like it don't make no sense. God. Wait a minute. It was just 5 p.m. How's it 4 p.m. now? What? It's like somebody.
No, this is, of course, an over-exaggeration. You know, they're not making it go back an hour and type shit. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing that to some targets. I haven't experienced that. But it's just a level of things that they do. Like, for instance, the finger thing you just saw. Their shadow networking technology where they're changing videos in real time. You know, the insect drones, real insect cat drones. I told y'all they have a cat drone here at work. Real animals and insects and birds and stuff that are drones. You know, all of that would make you feel like you're going crazy if you didn't know that this were an actual program. You're going to listen to you're going to hear what he said at the end of the video. You will start to think you're schizophrenic or crazy if you don't know the information, right? And if you don't learn, you know, the tactics and the fact that a lot of this technology really exists. Check out that mind reading video I recently posted, y'all, where they're showing you the technology that they have to read thought and stuff.
Just
They're being
reverse
open
time
about
by
it
an
now
hour.
at this point.
What? Man, daylight savings is crazy.
Yo, this is crazy. Bro.
Daylight savings? What is that?
Oh no, man.
Time for some cereal. What a young player gonna get?
Oh shit, you about to hit him with the.
Wait. Fruit Loops got 2 O's for the fruit?
See, he's just being an ass at this point, right? But this is like the level of crazy where they're changing like real, like crazy shit. Like they're even the bus schedule, the main bus schedule, they're changing up like real stuff. They'd be changing up and using the technology, the shadow networking technology to change videos in real time, right? And all of a sudden, for me, everybody's wearing plaid in every video I put on. You know, this is the type of stuff they do. You were really, you know, the radio. I'm coming in the car to listen to the radio every minute. They're putting on songs with stimuli in it to sensitize me. If I hadn't done my research and learned what I learned, I would have been sitting here questioning my sanity. I would have thought I was going off the rocker. I would have probably thought I needed some pills. And I would have probably thought I was schizophrenic.
I could have sworn it just was spelled like regular fruit. Wait a minute. I know what's going on right now. It's the Mandela effect.
No way, he just said that. Oh. Bro, hey, what they gonna think next? That Curious George had a tail? Like how does Nelson Mandela make you forget reality?
Bro, this like remind me of that one time where I was controlling the simulation, and dude, as soon as this dude stepped outside, I turned on the rain.
Wow,
I turned on the rain
you're
immediately.
a demon.
You know what he said?
What'd he say?
Oh, I guess I got bad luck.
Oh, what is luck? They always talk about luck.
Bro, they're so stupid.
They really are, like.
They're so hey, what is these voices that I'm hearing? Talking about controlling the city.
And he's talking about the V2K.
Relation or something like what?
Bro.
What?
The fact that he was having a full-on conversation with someone in his head, you know, and then he's only now realizing that that's weird. You know, remember I haven't experienced that, thank the Most High. That's the one thing I haven't experienced. But some targets deal with V2K where, like, they actively have, I guess, you know, an agent assigned to their case or whatever. I don't know how it works. I don't want to go into detail about it because sometimes when I talk about these things in the video I experience it, that's the one thing I don't want to experience. But they, you know, voice to skull, do your research. They do have.
What is these voices?
To,
Oh
like,
my
have
God.
somebody talking to you in your head.
Oh, I know what's going on.
See, I know that part was shadow networking like crazy. He's pointing his fingers. I know what's going on. Remember I told you they sensitized me to the phrase no. So at that point they were shadow networking like crazy. But this is a real video, y'all. You can tell he really
exactly
threw this
what's
together.
happening. Like I know specifically what this is going on right now.
No.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm schizophrenic.
I'm done,
Damn,
bro.
I knew
I'm
I was
done,
crazy.
You heard what he said? I'm schizophrenic. You know, like, because that's what you would think. And that's what the targeted individual program emulates. It emulates schizophrenia. And I've talked about this in several prior videos, y'all. In fact, I might create a future video about that, but I'm not sure. I don't want problems. I already kind of went in too much details with this video, which wasn't my plan. I wasn't even planning to make it. I told you on the last video, the next video was supposed to be a workout video. That's what it was supposed to be. A workout update to let y'all see my progress. I'm just waiting until I get a little bit more, a few more pounds on me. I'm 174 now, so I'm getting there. And I'm going to do like a similar video to what I did for my birthday, where I did those video clips with me in the short pants and stuff and let y'all just basically see what was going on, right? I'm going to do another video like that and let y'all see my results, what's happening now. But that's not a right now thing. That might be in like a month or so. But I didn't want to do another targeted individual video, y'all. I did say that in my last video and I meant it. But as usual, nonsense happens. Again, I'm pushing the false narratives and I'm sick of it. All day long too on the radio, I told y'all already, pushing signs. I just been shaking my head like, I'm not going to talk about it. But then they did the ambulance thing too. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, let me talk about this thing. Because they, again, are subjectively, biasedly, spitefully pushing a false narrative when it comes to that situation. And so that's what this video was about. But then I ended up talking about other stuff. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all in the next one. It's crazy. Keep your head up, man. Thank you for tuning in. Peace out, man. Talk to y'all in the next one.